What is poppin', y'all? Welcome back to another YouTube video, and today we're taking a look at the second season of Rising of a Shield Hero. We took a look at the first season yesterday, second season today, third season tomorrow, and then we'll be moving on to other things like The Witcher. So that's basically what's coming over the channel over the next week. So if that is something that you are interested in, I definitely recommend you hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell to be notified every time I do upload a video, and so you don't miss out on any of my uploads. I don't just do film reviews, I do other things as well, like gaming content, so there's always something for everybody here on the channel. But yeah, I watched Rising of a Shield Hero Season 2 and 3 back to back because it is 13 and 12 episodes put together is 25. So I'm just going to be looking at Season 2, but I did watch them all in one go. So there is 13 episodes within this season, all roughly around 20 minutes each. So you can easily watch it within 8 hours like I have done, but without any further delay, let's get to what Google has to say. So Rising of a Shield Hero is a 2019 anime which has a 4.7 out of 5 on Crunchyroll and 7.8 out of 10 on IMDb. You can watch it on Crunchyroll, Netflix, Amazon, or YouTube, and it does have 3 seasons. However, the story of the second season is split up into 2 major stories. The first story is all the 4 sort of heroes have been summoned together because there is a big awakening turtle. They have gathered all the sort of kingdoms of the continent to come together to fight this big old turtle, this big sort of turtle, because it is going to destroy the land. It's going to absorb the souls to stop the waves from coming in. And it is doing that. It has successfully paused the waves, and a mad scientist is actually controlling the turtle. And we have a girl who is the sort of pet of the turtle, who is actually sort of soul linked to the turtle, so she was lying to our main characters. And we go through a fight, we put together a plan. The main 3 heroes are being used as a battery, and the shield hero and his crew have to go and save them. The villain then escapes through a portal, and the shield hero follows him through that portal, which takes us into part 2 of the season, where they are traveling through a different world, which is very similar to the game one. They end up in a magic labyrinth, and they meet a new friend who has a fishing rod type weapon, and they're a hunter hero. They manage to escape the labyrinth by going through a glitch, a bug in the system. They then get split up. The raccoon girl ends up getting kidnapped. The other 3 go to the main city, head back, find the bird girl who is being held hostage and made to perform like in a circus. They free her. They then go and sort of rescue the raccoon girl who broke out of her prison with the other villains, which we met at the end of Season 1, who are taking down the mad scientist. They have a big old scrap and they end up leaving, and the raccoon girl becomes a hero because she has her own weapon now, which is a blade. That is pretty much the whole season in a whole, and I do much prefer this one. I do believe this season is better than the first one. It is episodes cut in half, from 25 to 13, but I do believe it takes more of a focus on the story points. My biggest criticism of the first season is that it was very choppy, very snappy, very quick, very jumpy from one point to the next. Like, the pacing of the first season was absolutely atrocious. It was way too quick to gather all the information that you needed, and it felt like you were there for an eternity. Whereas Season 2 slowed it down by quite a bit and had 2 main story points which it was trying to tell throughout the season, split up into 6 episode parts, and I thought it worked. It had a more cohesive story, we had further development of the characters, and for the first episode, because we've, or should have been, away from the characters for a while because this is the start of the second season, and I don't know how long the gap was between Season 1 and Season 2, but because we was away for some time, it does give us a little bit of a montage at the start of the episode to get us back up to speed with the show, get us back into the groove of things, back into the swing of things with our characters, and it did kind of feel a little bit forced, a little bit cringy, just with how it feels like a start to a cartoony movie, like a very sort of young kids movie where it's like get to know the characters type situation when everyone's coming in. And sometimes those can be cool, other times they can feel very forced and very sort of jagged, and that's what this one kind of felt like. The big turtle was kind of a strange story point to go with, and it did seem to be moving further away from the main reason that they were brought into this world, which is to fight the waves, and now they're fighting turtles and traveling the multiverse, because in season 1 they already established that there was a multiverse within this universe, because every one of the main heroes came from a different Japanese timeline, a different timeline that Japan was in, and this is further explored with the new characters which are introduced, because they are from even different versions of Japan, but they were summoned to be heroes in a different world. So there is layers upon layers and dimensions upon dimensions, and they all have these waves which are coming through, leaking in and killing the waves, and these heroes have been brought in to stop them. It is very confusing, but I do love myself a good multiversal story. I do love the multiverse and seeing the differences in every sort of place, and the differences were pretty cool because it gets to see our characters in situations that we wouldn't normally see them in. For example, in Season 2, the second half of the season is set in a more ancient Japan rather than a medieval type England situation. And instead of it being knights and sort of kings and queens, it was emperors and samurais and ninjas. And that's what I liked. It's getting our characters, but seeing them in a different situation that we wouldn't normally get to see them in if they just stayed back at their home area. And that's what I liked about the multiverse, because it gives you so many opportunities to explore characters in different ways, see what they'd be like if they sort of grew up different, if they're in a different sort of environment, and that's what the second part of the season shows, and it just has so much potential. We get to see them in a whole new environment, we get them in a whole new character design with their different outfits. They get new power sets in this new area because their levels get set back to 0, so they're being made weak again, which I didn't really like the fact that they were made weak again and had to start from scratch, but it is understandable. Swapping to a new game, you don't get to keep your progress and you do have to start from scratch again, so it is understandable that they did have to go from the get-go again and grow their characters from like level 0 to level 40 again, and that did come with its drawbacks and its sort of character issues, where sometimes it wasn't strong enough to take on the villain and had to get rescued or got captured, and it made for a more tense situation because this wasn't their normal world, so they're not used to how things work, their power systems are different, and they're not able to like combat these higher level villains which they would normally be able to take on if they were in their own world. So it just brought a whole nother level of tension to the story and a whole nother level of drama, which is absolutely excellent and is something that I very much did enjoy. However, it did come with its downsides of introducing new characters which basically we'll never ever see again. These characters were like one-off characters, they were here for half the season, and I doubt we'll see them again until the final battle when it is our main heroes versus the big bad, and they'll all come back to use the power of friendship to save the day. And that's my gut feeling, that's where I see this story going, and that's where I see these characters heading, and most of the time, I'm right with my predictions, because I did make quite a few predictions during Season 3, which all did come into fruition, so if you do want to hear about that, do come back to the channel tomorrow, because I'll talk a little bit more about them then. But the animation style is something that I do want to talk about, which I didn't talk about when I was talking about Season 1, and the animation style isn't my favorite because they do try and fuse 3D and 2D animation styles, and if you've been a fan of the channel for a while, you'll know that I don't really like that. In some areas it works, other areas it looks quite jarring because it doesn't match. For example, the example that I always use is The Amazing World of Gumball does it flawlessly, where they have so many different animation styles and it all just works and it all just clicks together. Whereas in this, when you have a 3D villain or a 3D hero like the Chicken Girl, I forgot her name, or the big bad dragon villain, them being 3D and moving around in a different way and sort of living in a different plane, from the 2D plane to the 3D plane, makes it look jarring and doesn't make it look like it fits, and definitely takes me outside of the animation. I no longer feel sort of connected to this world, like my focus and me being locked in, it sort of takes that out a little bit because of the sort of jarring animation design. I don't know, my personal preference, and I also don't like it when you can see eyes behind hair. That is also something that bugs me, where they continue to do the eye outline even though the hair is covering it, and that's a design style which I'm just personally not a fan of. I really don't like that style. It bugs me on an unbelievable level because you shouldn't be able to see that eye. When I have my long hair in front of my face, you cannot see my eyes. You know where they are because of like how my face is, and you know where my face is positioned, but you cannot see them through my hair, and that's what bugs me about this animation style. And it's something that I can look past and that I can get over, and it isn't a make or break with this anime, but it is something that I did have to mention and that I'm just going to talk about a little bit here because it is something that I'm not a huge fan of. The animation isn't anything like extraordinary. It's not your Arcane, Demon Slayer, Cyberpunk edge runners of like next level animation. It is kind of basic and your standard animation, which isn't like terrible. It's not bad. I'm not like saying every anime needs to be like Demon Slayer level animation, but it is just very sort of mid, very mediocre, and there is some stylistic choices which I am not personally a fan of. However, I do believe Season 2 is much better than Season 1 as it takes a much slower approach and gives us time to connect more with the characters, but you know, I do believe it does deserve a solid 8 out of 10, and other than that, I hope you all enjoyed this YouTube video. I'll see you all next one. I hope you all have an incredible day, and if you do want me to review any other animes, TV shows, or movies, please do leave them down in the description, in the comments, sorry, not description, comment them down below, and I'll get onto it as quickly as possible, and yeah, I'll see you all tomorrow for Rising of the Shield Heroes Season 3. Bye-bye.